You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
What is going on, my peoples? My name is Alex Pardo, and I'm about to share with you episode 681 here on the Flip Empire show. And I have a big win I want to go ahead and talk about here. And I do this, if you've been listening to the show and if you know me, you know that this isn't coming from a place of trying to put the spotlight on me or patting myself on the back, but I do it for several reasons. Number one, because I've always believed, and I said almost 7 years ago when I first launched this show, that if I was going to record a podcast and if I was going to do it, I was going to do it consistently, and I was going to be myself. I was going to be real. I was going to be true and authentic with not just the wins like I'm about to share with you, but also the losses. And, 681 episodes in, I've shared a lot of losses with you along the way. And I've come to realize that those aren't losses. Those are lessons learned. And those have stacked to get me to the ability to where I'm at today and to where I'm going, because I'm a work in progress. You're a work in progress. We're never a finished product, right? Or at least I don't believe I am. And I'm always striving to be the best version of myself I can be in the different areas of my life. And so just yesterday, finally closed on my third storage facility. What's really cool about this facility is that it's 3 miles from my first one. And so it'll give me now 80,000 net rentable square feet of storage in the same market. And that just opens up a lot of doors and opportunities. When it comes to operating, you have economies of scale. I can now leverage the same boots on the ground person. If and when I decide to sell, I can achieve likely a compressed cap rate, which means I'll make more money. It helps out both facilities. Just a lot of cool things I could do. We can cross market. As far as marketing our units to rent out. If I don't have availability in one particular unit and that's what a tenant's looking for, I can send them over to the second facility. It opens up a lot of opportunities. And so that's really, really cool. Excuse me. But what I want to do on today's episode is, on a future episode, I will likely dissect how I got this deal. What were some of the challenges? What were some of the hurdles we had to overcome? And it's a very, very unique situation in how this came to be. And so I will dissect the deal, and I'll share with you the numbers on a future Flip Empire podcast episode. In fact, if that's something that you're interested in doing, message me on social media, let me know. And I'm happy to do a breakdown kind of deal autopsy type podcast episode for you. But I don't have any notes on today's podcast episode. I really just, as always, I want to speak to you from the heart. And I just want to kind of share with you the reasons I believe that this deal, we punched it into the end zone last night. And the reason it got done. And again, I don't have any bullet points or anything. I want to speak to you, from the hip here. I want to shoot from the hip, and I want to share with you things that are bouncing around in my head that you can take and apply in your business, regardless of which asset class you're involved in. Maybe I've had a lot of entrepreneurs reach out to me that, maybe have some real estate holdings, but real estate isn't their core business. And I believe the reason this deal got done, what I'm going to share with you, can be applied regardless of the business you're in. And the first reason this got done is because of the most valuable capital you could ever have. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about relationship capital. I was asked to speak at a storage mastermind next month. And I'm going to be talking about the most important capital you could have, and that's relationship capital. And I'm going to dive deeper. And maybe what I can do is, once that talk happens, I can break that up and I can share that with you on the podcast. And this episode really isn't to dive deep on relationship capital, because there's a lot that I have to share on that topic. But the reason it got done is because of the relationships. When I think about the broker that brought me the deal back in July, this was a property that was not listed. In fact, very few people, if any, knew that it was even going to be coming up for sale. And I'll share with you on future episodes exactly how that all happened and how it unfolded. But because I established a relationship with this particular broker on the first storage facility that I closed in this area back in 2021, because we built a friendship, we built a relationship. He knew how I operated. He knew how I worked. He knew how I communicated. He knew that if I said I was going to do something, I was going to do it. I honored my word. I was one of the first people that he called when he had access to this facility. Now, he didn't have the listing because, again, he kind of heard through the grapevine that this might be coming up for sale. I believe I was one of the first he called and said, hey, I have this opportunity that it's 3 miles away from the one that you purchased from us. Are you interested? And it took, I just closed yesterday. So February 14th is when we closed this thing. So last week, if you're listening to this when it's published, and because of the relationship I built with him, he thought of me because I performed, because of my work ethic and just so be someone who is easy to work with, regardless of what you're doing. It could be something small, or it could be something big. It could be working on your next big deal, or it could just be working in tandem with somebody else, or it could be in just a team structure or environment. Be someone who's easy to work with. Don't be difficult. Don't be challenging. Don't throw up roadblocks and barriers. Don't be the type of person that only presents challenges and problems, but come with solutions. Right? Come with one of the things I always trained my team with when we ran the wholesaling operation is don't ever come to me with a problem without at least one, if not 2 or 3 solutions. It doesn't matter to me that we won't implement that solution or that solution maybe isn't applicable to the challenge we're faced with. But what's important to me is that you display that you've thought through the challenge and you've thought through what are the potential solutions and how can we either go through this challenge, over it, around it, under it, whatever the case might be. But every challenge has a solution. And I want to know that you've thought through it. So I think about the relationship I had, I was able to build with the seller, right? And us hopping on calls and overcoming certain hurdles and just constantly keeping the lines of communication open. I felt I'm very easy to work with, at least based on the feedback I've been given and what I believe. I want to do what's right for other people, and I want it to be fair for everybody. And I want everybody to feel like they got the best end of the deal. It's not a zero-sum game in my mind. In order for me to win, I don't think somebody else has to lose. And I think if you approach business, if you approach any transaction you're involved in, if you approach relationships that way, with always wanting to give more than you receive and extract, I think the laws of reciprocation are always going to tip in your favor. And I believe those are core reasons this deal got done. I wasn't the one who this particular broker and seller could have gone to other buyers that would have paid probably significantly more that I ended up paying. But because of the track record, because of the reputation, because of the fact that I invested into the relationship and we maintained contact from that last closing back in September of 2021. Had I never called him or reached out to him, or had we not continued to build and cultivate that relationship, I likely wouldn't have gotten this call. I also wasn't expecting this call. And I think that's big. When it comes to relationships, give with no expectation of anything back in return. And that makes it, to me, genuine, authentic, and sincere. And so I wasn't ever expecting him to bring me an opportunity. It'd be nice. I'd love that. But that's exactly what happened because I was more interested in building the long-term relationship versus a short-term transaction. So I think about the relationship. Again, I was able to build the seller. The relationship with my lenders, I quickly realized that getting bank financing on this was becoming a bit of a challenge because of the facility when I purchased it, or now it's 57% occupied. And, obviously interest rates have gone up and it makes the deal harder to pencil and harder to underwrite, even though it's just a solid deal with a lot of upside. And I can get into that in the future. I realized that I had some conventional bank financing options, but I was going to have to jump through a bunch of hurdles only to achieve a 7 to 8% interest rate. And so I quickly pivoted about a month ago or so. And I said, hey, what if I was to just raise the capital, right? And we're talking over $1 million that I was able to raise. And what was interesting to me is that the ease and simplicity in which I was able to raise almost $1.5 million compared to the process I went through to get bank financing on my first facility was night and day. I mean, when I'm talking about, it was less than a handful of conversations and a few text messages, and I had all of the money secured and then some to take this facility down. And the only reason that was achievable was because of the relationships. Yes, the asset made sense. Yes, it was a great deal. And obviously that's important. But what was more important is the fact that the people that decided to work with me and lend me the money to take this facility down, they know me, they trust me, they like me. I have a relationship and a friendship with them. And they know that I would always protect them and their investment above anything else. And they know that I'm always going to do what's right, not what's convenient. And I think that's where character and integrity comes from. And again, I'm not here sharing, although I do obviously have the right character and integrity, and I truly believe that. I'm not sharing that to pat myself on the back, but everything boils down to your integrity, your character, and your word and your reputation. So always protect that at all costs, because it's very hard. It can take time to build the right reputation and to build relationships. Generally speaking, relationships don't happen overnight. The meaningful, true relationships happen when people invest into each other, invest time and energy and care and want to help. And that can take a long time to develop, and it can take a moment for it to disappear and for it to go up in flames. So never put money or profits over people. Okay. Put people over profits, and you'll have an endless amount of opportunities that come to you. So the relationship I had with my lenders obviously just made it super easy. And I went into the deal. Obviously, I underwrote the deal. I knew the numbers. I know the market. I know the area. I was very confident in sharing with them the vision I had for this particular project, for this deal. And so it was, aside from the fact that they knew me, liked me, and trust me, it was an easy sell because I know my stuff. Right. And I had thought through, I created a full business plan. I shared it with them. Like, they could tell that I had put time, energy, and a lot of thought into this. I'm not just randomly reaching out to people for money, but I was more presenting an opportunity. And the cool thing is that when I reached out to them, I said, hey, I've been exploring bank financing options, and I have some of those available to me, but I'm thinking it's worth it to pay a little bit more of a premium on an interest rate. And just know that I'm going to work with people that I enjoy working with, and it's just a done deal. I don't have to jump through all these hoops. And so here's the opportunity. I thought of you, just wanted to plant the seed with you. If you're interested and you have some money to put to work, I'm happy to answer any questions you have and dive a little deeper. And if not, it's totally cool. But I wasn't asking for money. I was more presenting an opportunity. And I knew that if it wasn't for them, that was perfectly fine. But I knew I would get the money. It wasn't if or when, it was just who I was going to get it from. And some of the first conversations I had, I was able to secure the funds. And that's not anything special I did, but it was more because, again, the theme of today's podcast is just relationships. Build the relationship capital. And then also, I think it's important to dig your well before you're thirsty, right? The time to raise capital, the time to build relationships is not the time. It's not the same time where you need to raise capital for a deal. This happens organically and it happens over time. So dig your well before you're thirsty. You may not need private capital today. You may not need to have a deal coming your way today. But if you just spend time and you put that aside, put needing money, put needing deals or anything else, and just focus on the other person. How can we build how can we build a quality relationship? All that's going to come. There's so many podcast episodes. There's significantly more content and podcast episodes out there about raising capital. And yet the ratio of content out there when it comes to raising capital relative to the content out there about raising relationship capital, there's a huge gap. And yet I'm here to tell you that if you just focus on relationship capital, raising private capital and everything else will naturally follow. If you're somebody who operates with integrity, you do what you say you're going to do, you've built up a good reputation. And again, that takes time. So play the long game. Don't play the short game. So I wanted to just speak with you, speak to you from the heart and just kind of share with you some of the reasons I think this deal got done. I will dissect this and kind of do an autopsy a little further along in the process. And if we're not connected on social media, at Alex Pardo 25 on Instagram, obviously you can connect with me on Facebook, youtube.com/Alex Pardo. Start plugging more into the podcast. Make sure you're subscribed so that you're notified every Monday when shows get released. And I want to take you through this journey because it's been a year and a half. Yeah, it's been less than 2 years since I transitioned into storage, or just about 2 years. We're just about 2 years that I transitioned into storage after focusing on wholesaling and operating and running a transactional business. And there's a lot that I've learned. And when you perform and again, you do what you say you're going to do, it's crazy how the exponential returns start to happen. You start to get more opportunities thrown your way. You start to get more people that want to work with you, more people that want to invest in you, more people that are bringing you deals. And so once you build that momentum, keep your hands on the wheel, right? Like keep your foot on the gas and keep going, but never, ever, ever put money over people. It doesn't matter. It's not worth it. Number one, it's cool to do the right thing, especially when no one's looking and that that you're never going to sacrifice your word, your name, your integrity over any amount of money. But when you display that, people realize it and they recognize it. And I would always put my money with the right jockey, AKA the right operator, the right person, over an amazing deal with somebody who has questionable character. It doesn't matter how amazing the deal is. If I can't trust a person and if I don't have a relationship with them, it doesn't make sense for me. So the whole saying is if it makes dollars, it makes sense. I don't subscribe to that line of thinking. What has to make sense for me is the person. I'm betting on the person first. Second, the asset needs to make sense. And I think the people that I had an opportunity to work with on this transaction, on this deal, saw that in me. And so, yeah, on a future episode, I'm going to break this thing down. It's a little bit over 37,000 net rentable square feet, 312 units, 33 parking spaces. It includes 61 climate controlled, sits on almost 5 acres. And so there's plenty of room for expansion. It was built in the early 2000s. And those are just some of the particulars and details about the facility. But what's exciting about this is the potential, the numbers. And I'll break that down on an upcoming episode. So with that being said, appreciate you hearing me out. Hopefully this connected with you in some way. Make sure, again, you're subscribed to the podcast. And one other thing I want to kind of end the podcast with today is part of the reason this gave me the confidence to punch it over the goal line and into the end zone was not just because of the relationships and everything I've outlined on today's episode, but because of my network, because of because of Ascend, because of the mastermind communities I'm a part of, because of the people that have poured into me, coaches, friends that I can call and say, hey, here's a challenge, or hey, I'm presented with this. What do you think? Like I was able to just pick up the phone and call quite a few people that poured into me. And that's, again, it all ties back to the relationship. So make sure you're surrounded with the right people. Make sure that you invest in yourself by investing into masterminds and into the right communities. That's one of the ways you can quickly build relationship capital with the right people. I'm biased, of course, but I happen to think Ascend is one of the very best. AscendYourSuccess.com if you want to connect with us about our mastermind community. And with that said, if there's anything I can do for you, just reach out. Let me know, and I would love to connect with you. Have an awesome, awesome day. Hope you enjoyed that episode. But before you go, I've had a lot of people recently reach out to me wanting to learn more about Ascend, wanting to understand how the mastermind component works, how the coaching relationship works. And so right now we're actually on a waiting list. But what I would encourage you to do is if you think you're the right fit and you think you could benefit from being a part of our community, head over to ascendyoursuccess.com, watch the short video, and then just click the apply to join button below. And then we'll be in contact with you if and when a spot opens up. So really appreciate you listening to Flip Empire here, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next show. Take care.